This episode of Hot Air discusses sensitive topics involving the abuse and exploitation of minors. To reduce the risk of content being flagged or removed on various platforms, I will be using the abbreviation SA in place of sexual abuse or sexual assault throughout this episode. I am committed to discussing these topics responsibly, focusing on factual reporting, court records, and verified news sources. Listener discretion is strongly advised, and this episode may be triggering for some audiences. If you feel uncomfortable, please consider listening at a later time or seek support resources provided in the show notes. Well, that was a heavy introduction, wasn't it? But definitely necessary. And I take this subject matter very, very seriously. And no, this is not becoming a true crime podcast, but we are going to deal with some sensitive topics. So when you hear the term groomer today, it's often weaponized in political discourse, particularly against the LGBTQ plus community. This label is used to accuse queer people of attempting to manipulate or abuse children. However, a disturbing pattern emerges when we examine the backgrounds of some of the loudest accusers. Many of these individuals have been implicated in serious criminal activities involving minors. And today, I'm going to get into 6 such cases, highlighting the hypocrisy and the dangers of deflecting attention from real issues. And before I do, let's be very clear. I don't think every Republican thinks that the LGBTQ plus community is exhibiting this type of behavior. I don't think that every Republican is homophobic or racist. I also don't think every Republican voted for Donald Trump. And even those that did, I think that some of them are maybe regretting their decision. Just like I don't think Democrats are all super quote unquote woke. I mean, I'm woke. I will wear that as a badge of honor. But I think that we're really just being pitted against each other. And while the far right and the far left are representing everybody that falls somewhere in the middle, we're all just fighting with each other while these higher ups get to do whatever the fuck they please. And stories like what I'm going to discuss today are just swept under the rug. We don't hear about it. Republicans do not speak out when these stories come to light. But they do speak out when drag queens are reading books to children. And Republicans do speak out when they decide that don't say gay should be a thing. Republicans do speak out when they are taking away trans rights. Republicans do speak out when Kim Davis is asking the Supreme Court to revisit Obergefell v. Hodges and overturn same-sex marriage. Meanwhile, she's been married 4 times and got pregnant by husband number 3 when she was with husband number 1. So... I'm sweaty and I'm heated already. My point here is that I don't hear enough about the people I'm going to talk about here today. 6 people that have come after the LGBTQ plus community in very recent months to years and are now facing charges of their own. The exact same things that they were accusing the LGBTQ plus community of doing. So let's get into the heaviness of it all. Pause, take a breath throughout if you need to. Skip the episode if you feel like you might be triggered. I'm not going to get super deep into the case details because that is not what this is about. This is not a true crime podcast. I am just here to shed some light on things that I don't think have had enough light shed on them. Pretty plain and simple. And I do love calling a bitch out. So without further ado, let's hit it. Part 1. R.J. May from South Carolina. R.J. May, a Republican lawmaker from South Carolina, made a name for himself by introducing legislation aimed at restricting LGBTQ plus rights, including bills to limit LGBTQ plus visibility in schools. He was often a vocal critic of LGBTQ plus inclusivity, often labeling such efforts as harmful to children. However, in June 2025, May was arrested and charged with 10 federal counts of disturbing child SA material. Prosecutors allege that under the username Joe Biden 69 on the Keek messaging app, May exchanged over 220 files depicting toddlers and young children engaged in SA over a 5-day period in spring 2024. And these materials were traced to May's home Wi-Fi and cell phone. Each charge carries a potential sentence of 5 to 20 years in prison, and May has since resigned from his position and remains in federal custody awaiting trial. And you know who's not in federal custody awaiting a trial? Is a drag queen, but instead a white, straight, cisgender Republican lawmaker from South Carolina who came after the LGBTQ plus community when he was the one in possession of illegal material. Now, I should say here that all of this is allegedly, everything I'm going to say in this episode, allegedly, until proven guilty, but we know what allegedly really means, right? Part 2. Aaron Craig Gleason from California. Aaron Craig Gleason, a California man, was known for his vehement anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric, frequently accusing queer individuals of being groomers and attacking pride events and trans youth. He was an active participant in online forums promoting anti-LGBTQ plus sentiments. However, in 2025, federal investigators discovered that Gleason had been downloading and trading child SA material. Court documents revealed thousands of images and videos, some involving children as young as toddlers, and it makes me so fucking sick to my stomach. Gleason attempted to downplay the severity of his actions, but the evidence was overwhelming. This case underscores the dangers of projecting one's own illicit behaviors onto others as a deflection tactic. This is like not fun to read, even though there's no details. Part 3. Sean Kaufman from Pennsylvania. Sean Kaufman, a Pennsylvania resident, built a reputation as an extremist protester, frequently attending drag events and pride parades with signs about protecting kids. He was known for shouting through megaphones about predators in the LGBTQ plus community. However, Kaufman was arrested for possession of child SA material. Investigators found that his devices contained numerous files depicting such material. This case highlights the phenomenon of projection, yet again, where individuals condemn others for behaviors they themselves are engaging in. Showing up to pride events to carry those signs that we have all seen about LGBTQ plus people burning in hell. Guarantee you, at least 50% of those people are the biggest fucking sinners on the planet. And speaking of sinning, this next one, tale as old as time. Case 4. Pastor Ronnie Goines from Texas. And I could be saying his name wrong, and who the fuck cares because he's an idiot. Pastor Ronnie Goines of a Christian church in Arlington, Texas, led a campaign to pressure the city's mayor to ban pride displays in libraries, arguing that these displays were designed to influence children into that lifestyle. He positioned himself as a moral guardian, protecting children from the so-called dangers of queer representation. However, a lot of howevers here, in 2024, Goines was arrested and charged with sexual assault and indecent assault. He turned himself in after warrants were issued. Despite the charges, Goines returned to his pastoral role after a brief absence. A grand jury later returned a no bill, meaning there was not enough evidence to proceed with the charges. But literally a tale as old as fucking time. How many times have we heard about this in the news? Pastors, priests, people in the Catholic Church assaulting not only people that are underage, but other adults and committing the ultimate crime. Like, there is nothing, in my opinion, worse than SA against a minor. Yet, those are the people, the priests, the pastors, the hard Bible thumping motherfuckers that are out here committing those very crimes. Part 5. Gaylord Williams. Gaylord. Think you would have learned a few things from that name. Gaylord Williams, a pastor in Seymour, Indiana, was known for his anti-gay sermons, frequently condemning homosexuality as sinful. In 2014, Williams was arrested and charged with SA for allegedly groping a young man in a park. The victim reported the incident, and police discovered gay pornography in Williams's car. Williams was released on bond and faced court proceedings. This is a wonderful example of the hypocrisy of individuals who publicly denounce LGBTQ plus individuals while secretly engaging in gay behavior, watching gay porn, committing SA against minors of the same sex. Like, for real, Kim Davis, she looks like a huge old lesbian, okay? Full on sister wife lesbian here. And she is the one coming out saying that same sex marriage should be overturned. How many times have we heard that Lindsey Graham is gay? It was reported earlier this week that, I can't remember, not Christy Nome, not that dumb bitch, another dumb bitch, a far right influencer and politically outspoken leader. I will remember her name at some point, not in this episode, but at some point. She testified under oath that many of Lindsey Graham's constituents and people on his team have stated that he is gay. There's also all those stories about Lindsey Graham being on Grindr and paying young men to sleep with him. So, and he is very vocal about being anti-LGBTQ+. The kettle calling, what's that saying? Fuck. The pot calling the kettle black. Part 6. Thomas Mahoney of Washington, D.C. Thomas Mahoney, a former diplomat and World Bank consultant, was arrested in August 2025, so this very month, and charged with committing SA against 3 children in Washington, D.C. The alleged incidents occurred between February 2023 and July 2025, during playdates at Mahoney's home. Court documents detail disturbing incidents involving 2 7-year-old girls and 1 8-year-old boy. Mahoney was considered a trusted community member, known for his volunteer work with youth swim teams. His arrest has shaken the DC community and raised questions about trust and oversight in youth activities. And what do we know? Often these predators put themselves in a position in which you should be trusted, like a teacher, like a swim coach, like a Cub Scout leader, like the president, okay? Let's be real. Part 7. Projection, deflection, and broken priorities. So there is a psychological pattern at play, and that's what this is actually all about. Individuals who commit crimes, especially those involving minors, often point fingers at others, sometimes loudly, like the people I've spoken about, and sometimes strategically. This deflects attention from their own actions and paints a shield of morality around their entire image, while they continue acting in secret. So they're walking around pointing their fingers, and I almost said rightfully so. Committing any types of crimes like these that I've spoken about is, again, in my opinion, is like the ultimate crime. So if you are advocating for the arrest and incarceration of people that have committed these crimes, as I would, then of course people are going to think that you are against it, that you are anti-SA against minors. They're not going to suspect you of doing it. So to some, you're automatically like a fucking saint and you can do no wrong. And that is why these people choose this path. They're very strategic about it. Now, there's another side to this. Funding and attention that could protect children, like investing in social workers, child protective services, education programs, those are often siphoned off into unrelated political priorities. Like during Trump's administration, thus far, budgets were redirected to border walls and military expansions, while oversight and funding for child protection programs stagnated or shrank or was completely cut off. And the same pattern continues with many Republican leaders. They shine a spotlight on LGBTQ plus individuals whenever there's a scandal, whether it is a real or perceived scandal. But they rarely, if not ever, speak out against someone in their own ranks that is accused of harming children. And let's be real, everyone, no matter what walk of life you are from, is capable of committing crimes, right? I'm not saying there are no LGBTQ plus people that have committed crimes like these. There certainly are. But there are more often than not a hell of a lot of cisgender straight ass motherfuckers that are doing the harm. And they get to be ignored. And Republicans like to point out the very, very tiny percentage of queer folk that may be committing these crimes. There is also no statistics, none whatsoever, that would implicate queer folk of committing these crimes at a higher percentage than cisgender straight people. And that is one of the parts that people miss the most. It's not that politicians are unaware. It's that they benefit from the narrative. And as long as the LGBTQ plus people are grooming children type of story dominates headlines, It keeps this culture war alive. It rallies a base and distracts from their own inaction and distracts from the people who are actually guilty of these crimes. Meanwhile, children at risk, regardless of sexual orientation, are not getting the protection, attention, or resources that they need. When we see cases like RJ May, Gleason, Goins, or Williams, it's not just hypocrisy. It's part of a systemic pattern where the loudest accusers deflect, misdirect, and weaponize fear to serve their agendas. And until people start demanding real ass accountability, until budgets are allocated to truly protect children, we're going to keep seeing this same cycle. Queer people demonized, while actual predators sometimes hide in plain sight and often get away with it. And what the bigger picture is here, the next time that you hear someone rant about groomers or insist that LGBTQ plus people are out to harm your children or indoctrinate them, remember this. Look closely. Ask questions, because history and patterns tell us the loudest accusers are often hiding the deepest secrets. Protecting your children does not mean silencing queer lives. It means holding predators accountable no matter what pulpit, podium, or office or sexuality that they hide behind. And this is another episode where I feel awkward dropping the socials and all that stuff. But you know where to find me. @_hotairpod on TikTok and Instagram. You can now submit your stories for my listener tale episodes on my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com. And I've also noticed lately that we have a lot of new listeners, a lot of new followers on the socials. So welcome. I was gonna say welcome to the fold, but I don't know if that's the right term. So welcome to Hot Air. And I hope that you guys stick around. I am really passionate about topics like this because there is nothing that gets me more heated than this. Sometimes I'm like, I should be a vigilante, like Dexter level vigilante, and go after people that essay minors because I think it's the worst crime that you can possibly commit. Truly, this is one of those cases where I'm like, yep, death penalty, hit it, press that button, baby, pull that lever, whatever the death penalty is in whatever state you're in, these fuckers need to go. That's a hot take. Perhaps I'll revisit that on another episode. But anywho, stick around for your Hot Flash minisode later this week on Friday, and I will be back next week with your Hot Air full-length episode on Tuesday. So this was Hot Air. I'm Josh, and thank you for listening. I'll see you next Tuesday.